Coucou, bonjour, salut, et bienvenue à Learn French with Mr. K. C'est moi. Today, we're going to be focusing on definite articles in French. Okay? Before we go on, what's an article in English? If you said the, or a, or un, if it starts with a vowel, you're absolutely right. Okay, these little small group of words go before a noun to determine the noun. So often we call them determiners, but they can change the emphasis, the importance of a noun in a sentence. For example, a boy took the croissant. The emphasis is on the croissant, but perhaps the special croissant, the only croissant that I bought. But if I swap them around, I say the boy took a croissant. That suggests there were many croissants, and maybe only one boy, or the importance is on the boy in the sentence. Now, the bad news is, in French, there are 4 ways of saying the. Okay? Don't switch me off now. This is one of those areas where French is a lot more complex than English. Unlike a lot of the videos I've done recently, like the present tense or the past tense, where English overcomplicates things. This is something that is a little bit more challenging for us English speakers to learn. And it's just something that growing up speaking French, people acquire and they get used to. And when they hear the wrong one, it doesn't sound right. And we just have to learn them. Okay? So today we're going to be looking at definite articles, where to use them, some tips on how to remember them, and how to remember which one to use, and the ins and outs of them. Okay, so let's go. So, a definite article is just the word the in French. However, we have 4 forms. We have the masculine form for masculine nouns, le. So, for example, le livre, the book. We have la for feminine nouns, la table for the table. We would have L' for nouns that begin with a vowel. For example, l'école for school. And for plural, we would put les, les, for plural nouns. Okay, for example, les enfants, the children. Now, as I mentioned earlier, using le or la, we can change the meaning of the noun altogether. Okay, and I'll give you a few examples here just to show you without going through all of them. So it's really important we use it there. At other moments, if we get the gender wrong, what we're trying to communicate will still be exactly the same, except for these exceptions. So as I mentioned, every noun in French has a gender. Okay, it's nothing to do with being a boy or a girl or a man or a woman. Check out my video on masculines and feminines. It's just 2 categories of nouns. Okay, and nouns never change gender unless the noun itself has a gender, like animals or people. So apart from the exceptions I showed you where the meaning changes altogether. So let's go with the ones we saw. So what did we say? Le livre, the book. Okay, la table, les enfants, and l'école. Okay, they all have a gender. Now, pluralizing them is easy. All of them would take les, so it would be les livres, les tables, les enfants, already plural, and les écoles. And just like in English, we add an S to the noun. And in French, it's silent, unlike in English. As mentioned, we would have L' for nouns that begin with a vowel. However, and also, sorry, when they begin with an H, because the H is always silent in French, with a few exceptions, as always, for what we call an aspirated H, like le haricot or la haine. Okay, so a top tip is to always learn new vocabulary with the article. So when we're learning animals, for example, check out my video on animals, we would learn le chien rather than just chien on its own, so that we're able to remember the gender, and then when we want to describe the dog, the color, the personality, we're able to use the correctly spelt adjective, okay? And the adjective would need to agree with the noun, but that's for another video. For the L apostrophe, when nouns start with a vowel, if it sounds choppy, if it sounds staccato, like you're having to stop halfway through, a bit like if you're saying elephant, okay, then it's likely that you would need to use the L apostrophe. So that's a top tip. When learning this vocabulary as well, color code your nouns, okay? Blue for masculine nouns, red for feminine, green for plural, purple for ones that start with a vowel that would need that L apostrophe, just to help you remember, but be consistent with those colors. There are patterns that we can spot as well, okay? Nearly all the time, if a noun ends in an E, it's feminine, okay? Like I said, there are exceptions. If a noun ends in T-I-O-N, tion, it's feminine. La situation, l'action, la réaction, for example. If a word ends in age, okay, it's more than likely feminine, masculine, but there are exceptions. Le paysage, l'âge, for example. Okay, so now I'm going to give you 10 nouns without the article, and based on what we've spoken about and the patterns that we've seen, I want you to see if you can recognize what the article would be, the definite article. So we'll start with chat. Bien, doesn't end in an E, masculine, okay, le chat. Pomme. Gave that one away a little bit. La pomme, feminine. Livre, with an S at the end. Les livres, très bien. Voiture, with an S. Good, plural again. Les voitures. Garçon. Good, masculine. Le garçon. Arbre. Starts with a vowel. L'arbre. Excellent. Ami. Again, plural. So that would be les amis. Très bien. Question. Tricky one. Remember we said those T-I-O-N, those sion, are feminine, even though they don't end in an E. So that would be la question. Table. No tricks here. La table ends in an E. 75% of the time, it's feminine. And last one, fromage. Le fromage. Remember those that end in A-G-E, age, are masculine most of the time. Très bien. So now I'll pop up 5 English words with their article, and I want you to give me the French. So pause me, and in 10 seconds we'll go through the answers. So we've got the school, the books, the woman, the friend, masculine, and the hospital. Très bien, so we've got l'école, les livres, la femme, l'ami, and l'hôpital. Très bien. Excellent, très bien. That's all we've got time for today on Learn French with Mr. K. Look out for my next video on indefinite articles, okay, and un in French. I will leave you with 20 little exercises to do, practicing the definite article. And I will give you 10 seconds and then the answers will reveal. So like a little worksheet, you can give that a go, okay? But until next time, gros bisous, à plus tard et à la prochaine. Ciao for now.